Okay then everybody, here we go with our literacy for today. So by the end of today's lesson, hopefully you will have been able to come up with lots of different adjectives, which are describing words, to describe our tiger from Our Tiger Who Came to Tea story from yesterday. Now, the first place to start with this is to make sure that you know what adjectives are. So they are describing words. That could be what something feels like, what something looks like, what it tastes like, what it sounds like. So those are all sorts of adjectives. Just pause for a minute, and can you already tell the person with you some adjectives that you know? Have a go and come back to me. Okay, well done. So those describing words, those adjectives you might have come up with: big, small, furry, wrinkly, rough. So they're all words that describe a noun, and that's something. So you might have had wrinkly paper. You might have silky hair. You might have pointy teeth if you're a tiger. Okay, so those are our adjectives, and that's what we're looking for today, but linked to our tiger. So I'm going to help you, and then I'm going to leave you to get on with it. So the first place to start is with the story. And you'll find that underneath this video, but I'm just going to share my screen with you so you can see, and I'll show you how to use the story to help you. Here we go. Okay, so here's our story. So your first job is to read back through the story and see if you can pick out those describing words. But it can't be any describing word. Remember, we're looking for words that describe the tiger. Okay, so let's have a look at this first sentence. Once there was an ordinary little girl called Sophie who lived with her mum and dad. Now, the describing words in that sentence, I'm going to tell you to start you off, are ordinary and little. But do those relate to the tiger? You're right. The answer's no. They're about Sophie. So while they're adjectives, we've done a brilliant job of knowing they're describing words, but they're not ones to choose for the tiger. So then I'd go down to the next sentence. Sophie had silky blonde hair that she always wore tied up in a blue velvet bow. Just pause and tell the person with you or that's at home next to you, which adjectives did you hear in that sentence? Off you go. Well done. So we've got silky, blonde, and that's talking about hair. And then we've also got blue and velvet, but that's talking about a bow. So again, they're adjectives, but they don't relate to the tiger. So now, when I leave you to get on with your activity, what you're going to do is you're going to keep going through the story, and you're going to find those adjectives that do relate to the tiger. So let's just go down and make sure we have found some as an example for you. So we knocked. Here we go. Okay. So I'm looking at this sentence here that starts with the opener, in front of her. So in front of her was a huge, furry, stripy tiger. There we go. That's what we're looking for. All three of those adjectives relate to the tiger. So we've got huge, furry, and stripy. So those would be three adjectives that I would write down on my piece of paper that describe what the tiger looks like. But apart from describing what he looks like, we can also say what he's like as a character in the story. So those are just appearance ones, describing what he looks like. If we go a little bit further down, we've got a sentence that tells us what he's like as a character. I'm just looking here on this second sentence. It says, this time the greedy tiger ate every single bun. So now I could write greedy down on my list of adjectives because that tells me what he's like as a character. Okay, So remember, by the end, we're looking for adjectives to describe our tiger. So step 1, go through the story. Can you find adjectives that describe what the tiger looks like and also what he's like as a character? Okay, once you've done that and you've written those down, you can then start trying to be a little bit clever and add some of your own adjectives. So let me get rid of this one so you can see me. There we go. So the next step is that then also underneath this video, you will find that there is a picture of the lion, sorry, not a lion, a tiger, for you to look at, okay? Or you can go back to the PowerPoint from yesterday and look at the pictures on there. And then you can have a think for yourselves. What adjectives can you use to describe him? Okay, what describing words? So I've got a little bit of a helping hand because tonight I had my own visitor that came to tea at my house, and here he is. He's a little bit shy, which is why he was hiding behind me, but we can use him to help us with some describing words. So if we were to start off with his paws, what could we say about them? What describing words could we use for his paws? Just pause me and have a chat with the person who's with you. What words could you use to describe his paws? Okay, well, these are some of the ones that I thought of. I thought if I came up with just one adjective, I could say that they were big. I'm just writing this on my whiteboard for you to see. Okay, so you might come up with one adjective. Oh, I think though, actually, I could probably come up with two and move to the next level. So I could say he's got big. I'm going to put a comma in between because I'm starting a list. He's got big. I'm going to go with smooth. Trying to do my best writing on my lap. Big, smooth paws, I could describe it. Or I could go up another level and come up with a little describing phrase. And I could say he'd got big, smooth paws as wide as a road. Okay, so that's one way of doing your adjectives. You could have one adjective for a body part, you could have two adjectives for a body part, or you could come up with a little phrase. Okay, let's go the other end of tiger. This time I might choose his body part of a tail, and I might describe it as being long. Or again, you might go that next step up and you might say he's got a long, swishy tail, for a better word. Or you might go a next stage up, and go for our phrase and say he's got a long, swishy tail like a snake. Okay, so pick different body parts from the picture that can help you to come up with some adjectives. So what else have we got? We've got a nose. It's a very well-behaved tiger. We've got ears that you could describe. You could describe the tiger's eyes. You could describe, and you probably can't see them very clearly on the video, his whiskers or his mouth, his head, body, legs, tummy, all those different body parts that you could describe about the tiger. Okay, so give it a go. To remind you, you're coming up with adjectives to describe the tiger from our story. Use the story that's there. Can you pick out those adjectives? Write them down on a piece of paper. Then can you go to the picture and have a go at coming up with some describing words from what you can see? But also, can you describe his personality? So was he greedy? Was he rude? Was he polite at the beginning? Think about all the different things you can say about the tiger and write them down on a piece of paper. Remember, those adjectives could just be one adjective for a body part. You could go the next step up and do 2 adjectives with that comma in between. Or you could have a go at doing a little phrase. Another example could be his teeth were as sharp as daggers, or his claws were as sharp as daggers. See how much you can challenge yourself. And can you then maybe look back through some of your words and pick a better word? So I used big. It's an adjective, but perhaps I could have used large or huge. See if you can think of some better words that could describe your tiger, okay? And then the next step is, and the last step for this lesson is, can you challenge yourself even further and see if you can come up with just a couple of sentences to describe those body parts using the words that you have come up with. Okay, so an example would be, if I went for tiger's tail, oh, he's tried to run off, he's down here, let's bring him back. If I tried to describe tiger's tail in a sentence, I could say at the end of his body, he had a long swishy tail that moved like a snake. Okay, or I could say at the end of his long, strong legs, he had, seeing what my words were, large, smooth paws. Okay, so there's your challenge. There's your activity for today. Off you go, find those adjectives, see if you can up level any of them, see if you can put any of them in sentences, and all the best of luck. I hope you enjoy, and I will see you again in a little while, ready for our maths introduction. Happy adjective finding.